Hello, we're working on Chapter 9, Section 7, solving quadratic equations by using square roots. And I'm doing the guided practice problems on page 639. We'll do 7 through 12. For these problems, there's going to be multiple steps. So we're going to first isolate the x squared, which means do something with the negative 75, do something with the 3. We're going to isolate it to where I just get x squared by itself, just like the problems you just saw if you're watching the videos in order. And then I'll take the square root. All right. Sorry, I got the hiccups. I always get the hiccups when I make videos. I don't know why. I gotta get some water. Anyway, everything I'm going to do is going to be what I like to say working backwards, but I'm using inverses of these operations. I might need to make that longer, I don't know. So I'm looking at negative 75. That is adding negative 75. We call it subtracting, but it's really adding negative 75. The opposite of that is to add positive 75. Now, negative 75 plus positive 75, that equals, poof, 0. And when I take the 3x squared and add it to 0, that's going to just leave me 3x squared. So I'm moving closer to isolating the 3x squared. Okay. But I can't just do this. Whatever I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other side in order to have balance. So my next step would be 3x squared plus 0, which is just 3x squared. And this is equal to 0 plus 75, which is 75. All right. Now I need to isolate the x squared. I want to do something to eliminate this 3. I'm multiplying by 3, so now the opposite is to divide by 3. And I get x to the second power equals 75 divided by 3 equals 25. Now this step looks like the examples from the previous video where I just said x squared equals some number. 25 is on my list. It is a perfect square. So I get x to the second power equals 25. Take the square root of both sides and don't forget the plus or minus. So x equals positive 5. And x equals negative 5. Let's look at problem number 8. So, you know what? I was going to save it till the end, but I'm going to do it at the beginning. I know I want the x squared on the left side, so I'm just going to put the equal 0 over here. So I get 81 x squared subtract 25 equals 0. Just like over here, I subtracted 75. Now I'm subtracting 25. I did the opposite here. I'm going to do the opposite here. I'm going to add 25 to both sides. I get 81 x to the second power equals 25. The opposite of multiplying is dividing, so I'm going to divide by 81. And I get x squared equals, you probably want to grab a calculator, but I'd like to point out that 81 and 25 are both perfect squares. If that's the case, leave it as a fraction. And I'm going to show you why. Because when I take the square root, and don't forget you get 2 plus or minus, I get x equals the square root of 81, which is 9, and the square root of 25, which is 5. And you can stop right there. You don't have to change that to a decimal or anything. You just say 9 over 5. It's perfectly okay. All right, number 9, very similar. 49x squared plus 64 equals 0. The opposite of adding 64 is to subtract 64. I get 49x to the second power equals negative 64. Excuse me, I get some water. The opposite of multiplying by 49 is divide by 49. And I get x to the second power equals negative 64 over 49. Excuse me. Probably shouldn't do that while I'm recording, but I'm too far into the video. If I take the square root, notice what's going to happen. I'm taking the square root of a negative number. I know the square root of 64 is 8. I know the square root of 49 is 7. But for now, you can just say no real solutions. Let's try problem number 10. All right, draw my line here. I'm going to, let me start over. This is x to the second power times 16, then added to 10. Let's work backwards. The opposite of adding 10 is to add negative 10. 16 x to the second power, because of the 10 and the negative 10 equals 0, equals 131 minus 10 is 121. Now I'm going to divide. And again, 121 and 16 are both perfect squares. So I don't want to grab a calculator and change this into a decimal. I get x to the second power equals 121 over 16. Take the square root. Don't forget I get 2 of them. And I get x equals 11 over 4. And you can leave it 11 over 4. That's perfectly okay. And again, as always, pause if I'm going too fast, or you can look at the slides when I take the pictures later. For problem number 11, I'm going to turn it around. 4x to the second power subtract 16 equals 0. Going to add 16 to both sides, and I get 4x squared equals 16. I'm going to divide by 4, and I get x squared equals, now a moment ago I said you don't have to reduce that, or excuse me, reduce is the wrong word. I chose the wrong word. You don't have to change this to a decimal. Same thing with that one when we did that one. But guess what? 16 divided by 4, that's just 4. All right? The other ones I was going to get like a decimal. This I'm just going to get it like a whole number. Excuse me. After I do problem number 12, I'm going to go get some more water. I'm going to take the square root. Don't forget the plus or minus, and I get x equals plus or minus 2. Finally, for the last one, I get 100x to the second power plus 26 equals 10. I'm going to subtract 26 from both sides, and I get 100x to the second power equals negative 16. I think I see where this one's headed. Let's keep working. Divide both sides by 100. I don't have to divide this. If I did, I'm going to get actually I'm going to get negative 0.16. So it's not that terrible, but it's okay. I get x squared equals negative 16 over 100. Actually, I can even reduce it, but I don't need to, because when I solve, no real solutions. Because no matter what, changing it to a decimal, taking the square roots, I'm trying to take the square root of a negative number, and that's going to be no real solutions. All right, we'll see you in the next video.